What's up, everybody? My name is Blayne Gilmer. I am here with Knowshon Moreno and Tavarres King, former Georgia Bulldogs, who are still celebrating Georgia's national championship victory over Alabama. And we are talking here today about Georgia getting over the hump after 41 years of drought and misery of being so close. With one pick six there at the finale from Keely Ringo. All of that was going away. So we're going to talk about Georgia. This is the Second to None podcast. We talk about all things SEC football related here on the Believe Podcast Network and the 365 Sports YouTube channel in partnership with the Sidelines Network and the you can see their stuff on SSN at college football right there. Guys, we have a lot to talk about here as it was a exciting time. I was there at the game. You guys were there watching the game together, kind of virtually doing your thing over there. And man, there's a lot to break down here, but Georgia gets the monkey off their back. No longer do they have to hear 1980, anything like that. 2021. The 2021 season is the last time the Georgia Bulldogs now were the national champions. So TK, Knowshon, I appreciate you guys joining me once again. What's the thoughts? First off, still fresh off the victory.
Man, I'm still ecstatic. Obviously, just as everybody else that's a dog fan is. Super hype about what just took place in Indianapolis. Obviously, the long drought. We've been in battles. We fought for what those cats just won. So we're on cloud nine, man. To be a part of that, to be a part of such a historic university. We're on cloud nine over here, baby.
Oh yeah. It's time to build now. I mean, we've been building right to get to this point, but shoot, now I feel like. Now we just get all the recruits. Hey, come on to Georgia, baby. We're gonna get some more anyway, so we might as well come on over and join us. But yeah.
The fact that Kirby now has a ring to walk into mama house with.
Oh yeah, put it on the table. Here, mama, here. Look, mama.
Yeah,
we're gonna get a lot more.
I'm telling you, Kirby Smart has been obviously a terrific recruiter his entire time at Georgia. They've never finished outside the top 5 in the recruiting rankings. It's hard to imagine what that could ratchet up now to with him having that hardware to show off for sure. But, guys, it was something that Vegas and the football experts, some of the football purists, people who weren't caught up in stuff, they were picking Georgia to win the game in terms of being a favorite, a 2 or 3 point favorite, depending on where you got the line, somewhere in between there. Lots of analysts actually picking Georgia to win the game beforehand, but still there was always, you felt like that shadow over the team, right? That kind of cloud of doubt because it'd been so close so many times, especially with Alabama, that mental hurdle that was there. How real do you think that was for the players, for the coaches, things like that? I know that eventually you get out there and you're just playing football, but you guys have been there. You've been at the man in the arena, so to speak. How real are those mental hurdles that you have to get over?
Yeah, I think it's something you do. You think about. It's in the back of your head real fast. It's more like, man, screw those guys. You know what I mean? I'm tired of this. You know what I mean? One of those kind of feelings, and one of those feelings where you're like, we're not letting this happen again kind of feeling, It's kind of like what we had when back in my time when we were playing Florida, University of Florida, they always had that upper hand on us and they had that mental edge over us. And, it took us to all charge the field to get to get that momentum back on Georgia's side and finally, break that streak and beat Florida. So I think it was kind of the same thing, is that we knew we can do it. It was just more going out and executing and handling business.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I think that, these guys kind of viewed it differently. They viewed it as it's their time. Mm-hmm. And I feel like you kind of could sense a little bit of the jitters. Obviously, Stetson breaking out, fumbling early, all bouncing right back up to him. I mean, you can sense the jitters early, but you just knew, bro, like that I don't know. I don't know. You just knew. I don't know if you could feel it in there, Blayne, but you just knew that these guys were locked in and ready. Ready. Obviously, bro, I was over here at times pulling my hair out.
That boy was hype. That boy was hype.
Man, I was over here hype, son. But I mean that's football. That's the ebbs and flows of the game. And those guys handled those ebbs and flows of the game amazingly. I mean, there were moments in those games where what we're talking about, that Mailman effect, you felt it in that game. So I mean, yeah, for them to get through that, the resolve they showed to get through those adverse times during that game, let alone the outside pressure of the game, was amazing, bro. Amazing.
Yeah, and I think
there was a lot going on in that game.
There's a lot, and we're going to break it down, all of it. But, we had to I mentioned the spread earlier, what it was. I do have to thank our show sponsor here and our partner of the show, Bet Online. And Bet Online, guys, they have been with us all season, and now the college football season is over, but NFL playoffs are getting started up this week. We have some NBA action still going, so Bet Online is your number one spot for all of your sports wagering in the year 2022. Brand new year, still getting used to saying all that, but new year, new updated desktop and mobile website. Sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code BELIEVE. That's BLEAV to get started. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all these amazing offers here in 2022. Bet Online, it's the fastest and easiest way to bet on your favorite sports. Bet Online, where the game starts. And always appreciative of Bet Online for sponsoring the show. And Knowshon, we'll have to get you in, when these NFL games and stuff on these shows, we might throw in some NFL best bets and all this kind of stuff going in here for the listeners here. See what's coming up with these NFL playoffs.
I'm doing it. I'm down. Let's do it. I'm ready to do it all, baby. I'm really appreciative and glad and happy that you guys, decided to let me join you guys, man. You guys have been killing it. So thank you for, let me join and just mess with you guys a little bit.
We're excited.
Yeah, for sure. Anytime I can hang out with my dog, I love to. And then we obviously chop it up and talk about some SEC and our dogs.
Exactly.
Well, and guys, we're going to focus on all SEC teams, but right now it is about Georgia, and it is about that victory that they put together. And I think one of the things that stands out the most to me from that game is that, we said going into it in our preview that we did, I said that, in the previous four matchups, Georgia had not averaged over 3.9 yards per carry rushing. They were up north of 4.5 yards per carry in this game. Of course, James Cook's 67-yard run had a lot to do with that in that game. And then, of course, Zamir White at the end really salting that thing away, allowing Stetson to get him to draw up and then hit a Brock Bowers. TK, I don't know, the first time that Georgia was going in to play Alabama, you and I talked about Henry To'oTo'o and him not having the ability to cover Brock Bowers in space, not being great in space. And that matchup at the end right there, him getting beat on that RPO, Brock Bowers to the flat, that proved to be the difference right there.
Yeah, I mean, well, it finally showed itself. And obviously Coach Saban and that defensive staff was scared of a Brock Bowers, rightfully so. I mean, he was a cat that they doubled at times in situations. So I mean, it showed right there. To'oTo'o couldn't hang with my boy, and you could see the speed and the quick burst, bro. He caught that thing and got right on in there. I said, yes, sir.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Sean, I mean, being a former running back at Georgia, you had to be encouraged by what you saw there out of Georgia's running game, that not only the running backs, but it seemed like when Georgia really started employing more of the gap scheme at the end of the game, it allowed not only Georgia to create angles with those big linemen and get some movement, but then it allowed the backs to use their vision and cut off those pulling linemen as well.
Yeah, exactly what you said. I was about to bring it up. Is those pulling linemen. Yeah, we were doing the gap schemes a little bit, a little inside zone, especially out the gun. But when you saw those big boys pulling and coming around that edge there, we were definitely getting 5-6 plus. Off of those because you just read it, cut inside that, and then they were hitting it full speed downhill, which you'd love to see. And I felt like we had that all night. Really, I don't think we had that many negative yards rushing. By the quarterback a little bit because we got sacked a couple times, but rushing the ball, we didn't have too many negative yards. Everything was like 3+, 4+, like you said. What were we averaging? 4 to 5?
Yeah, it's 4.5 yards per carry by the end of that, and that was by far the most the most Georgia had so far. And I'm gonna share the angle I had of this on the field. This is James Cook's run. But you just see, the speed that Alabama was worried about there. Dude, buddy came right in front of me, but I wasn't going to shy away. I wasn't worried about it. I wasn't worried about a little contact, PD. I was right there in it, So
that's a good clip.
It was good. No, it was good to it just be there in that atmosphere. You could feel it. There was a little bit a bit of apathy, it seemed like, from the Alabama fan base, right? They were outnumbered 70-30 in that stadium, and you could tell it was almost like leading up the week to it. Alabama had been like, oh, well, we've been here before. Maybe, it is Georgia. We know that we've beat them several times, but there was a palpable hunger in that stadium that you could feel. And I am gonna play one more clip for everybody that got in the stadium that night, and it was the pick six from Ringo. Man, that I'm gonna play the sound on this one because it was the roof about blew off that place. It was as loud as any home game that I had ever seen at Sanford Stadium or anything like that. And talk about while I'm getting to that, you guys. Not only did Alabama have to rely on freshmen, right, which you have to commend those guys for stepping up and trying to play with Jameson Williams being out. And listen, nobody's going to pretend like that wasn't a big factor, right? When you lose your best playmaker, that does nothing but help Georgia, right? That was something that really helped Georgia, but not that it taints the victory or anything like that in any way. Injuries happen in football, but Georgia also all year long has been dealing with injuries. Eric Gilbert didn't play. George Pickens wasn't available most of the year. And the guys who ended up scoring the 3 of the 4 touchdowns, A.D. Mitchell, freshman, Brock Bowers, freshman, Keely Ringo, redshirt freshman. This is his first year getting to play. So, just talk about that youth stepping up before I play that clip for everybody.
In years past, if you reverse it, that's what they had. They had a Henry Ruggs. They had a young
Devonta Smith catching the second 26.
They had a second and 26, Devonta Smith.
And who threw that? A freshman, Tua.
Exactly. So they had that. They had freshman guys stepping up, making plays. This year they had guys that were thrown into the fire that didn't make those plays. But on the other side of that, bro, our young guys stepped up to the challenge, made plays, and for them, I think that is huge confidence boosters going into a next year. For A.D. Mitchell being able to say, I went over top of my man's head and grabbed this thing for a tutty and the natty.
Oh yeah,
it's huge for his confidence. All of those guys, but yeah, man, just to speak to young boys stepping up, making plays. I feel like you have to have young guys step up, make plays in the natty because it's what's happening now.
Yeah. You got to make plays. Oh, you got the clip? Let's see the clip. Yeah. You got the clip? Go?
Yeah. Let me get the sound on this thing. Hold on just a second.
Yeah. I bet it was ridiculous. Oh my goodness.
Hey.
Kirby, y'all couldn't hear it?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay. Hey, Kirby got hops, number one.
Yeah, Kirby got up, but that whole stadium went crazy. And here's the thing: nobody's going to pretend like Alabama's about to go away or anything. In fact, we're going to talk about the SEC in 2022 here in just a second. Nobody's going to pretend like Alabama's still, in my mind, they're still the preeminent program. But Georgia is that team to beat now. You can talk about a singular team. They're the ones, they've got the target on their back now after winning the national championship. But just for Kirby Smart now, having been to 2 title games in the last 5 years and now having dethroned the greatest to ever do it, Nick Saban, his longtime mentor, what do you think that does for him? Not only we've talked about recruiting, but now year in and year out, we've seen some coaches take them to another level, like Urban Meyer at Florida won that first one, and then he went on a run and then won another one at Florida and another one at Ohio State and became a legend. He of course he messed up in the NFL here. We all know that with the Jags, but
oh my goodness.
But we've also seen like Ed Orgeron. He won a title, and then 2 years later, he's gone. Gene Chizik won a title. 2 years later, gone. I mean, so what do y'all think this does for Kirby Smart, and how do you make sure you stay on top, kind of more in the Nick Saban, Urban Meyer type vein of things, and not more in the Orgeron and Chizik type vein of things?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you keep on winning, right? I'm not sure about those coaches. When they got let go, did they stop winning? That's probably what happened, right?
But I'm saying, like, complacency and stuff like that. Now that you've been to the top, I mean, how do you? I guess this gives Georgia and gives Kirby Smart the ability to, like we said, it's all about recruiting, right? In college, that's the lifeblood, so it's going to help him there. But also, as players, when you've been around somebody that has won a championship, you tend to open that ear a little bit more and be a little more receptive, right?
Yeah, 100%. It gives them that ring, give them a lot of credibility in a lot of different places. But to me,
I don't see him getting complacent.
To me, his personality doesn't scream complacency.
He's already thinking about that next title.
He's a guy that I mean, even after the SEC championship, he was like, "Shit, this made us hungrier." So I mean, I can only think tasting this success is just gonna make them.
Happier, they're gonna want that for sure.
And lastly, before we turn the page on this game, what did you guys think? Obviously, we know that Georgia having the ability to run the ball was big, but what are some, if you had to pinpoint a couple plays, couple things in the game that you think really made the difference for Georgia? What was it about watching this game that really said, okay, that's why Georgia was able to win this ball game?
Man, Lewis Cine flying around on defense was was hella fun to see. Him coming up, thumping B-Rob on a couple of plays was fun to see. I think that was big for the energy, and then obviously just the composure. I talked about it before, the composure of everybody, because that was a game of ebbs and flows. It was a game of a lot of adversity. It was a lot of times in that game where kids could have hung their head and being like, "Oh shit, this is it," but they didn't. There was a lot of time where 13 could have hung his head after that fumble. Boy, I hung mine. Shit, I was like, it's over. But hung in there, bro. They hung in there, kept their cool about them, and got it done. So I think that is the biggest and coolest thing about this game is the composure factor that these kids were able to keep throughout this entire thing to bring it home.
Yeah, for sure. Especially, after penalties and things like that, I think the guys were able to really fight through adversity. I mean, they were fighting the refs, fighting the penalties, fighting the Alabama team that was, it's Alabama. And the guys, persevered through all that and still were able to go out and make plays. I saw Nolan Smith out there, number 4. And I didn't see him out there that much. I saw him out there a good bit, but I saw plays that he his recognition, he came off of rushing the quarterback and came making a couple plays on the wide receivers down the field. So just having that recognition, guys, when they had their opportunity, no matter how many snaps it was, they made the best of it, and that's the only thing you can ask from the guys, to go out there and just make the best of their opportunities to go out there and make plays.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, obviously everybody talks about the resiliency of Stetson Bennett and what he, how he was able to persevere through, some lack of success early on, especially after the SEC championship. But I think the player that embodied perseverance and resiliency the most, and maybe had even a bigger impact on this game, honestly, is William Poole. William Poole got torched in that first game. They targeted him, I think, 11 or 12 times, completed 9 or 10 balls on him in that first game. Well, right after Georgia scores to go up 26-18, they're coming back down on a drive, and on a key third down, they run Slade Bolden on a, he's running a little dig, gives a out fake like he's going out, cuts it back in. William Poole doesn't fall for it. He's right underneath it. Doesn't
that pass. Oh yeah.
Doesn't have pass interference. He uses kind of the chicken wing there, pins his left arm to him and sticks his other arm out. That's a huge play because Slade Bolden, once Jameson Williams went down, Slade Bolden could have been that guy. He was the guy that they were going to target and they were going to go to, and they did on that key third down situation. And William Poole breaks that ball up, a guy who pretty much his entire time at Georgia was looked over. Other guys played in front of him. They didn't really play him all year until the SEC championship game. He has a, bad game. He gets torched by Mechie and by Bolden in that game. And then guess what? Kirby Smart comes right back to him in the national championship and says, you're the guy. You're the guy we want in here covering. And on a key third down, he makes a play. So I thought that was huge. But, speaking of Georgia champions right now, the 2021 national champions, but now as you go into 2022, we're going to talk about here some teams that are, have the ability maybe to take that next step, right? And identified some of these teams, and we're going to start. We'll start with Georgia in the East, right? I mean, what I'm saying is, obviously they're the defending champs, so everybody's going to want to know what's next for Georgia. They've got a question to answer at quarterback, right? Is Stetson Bennett going to come back? What's the future going to be like there? They're still waiting to see who goes pro and who doesn't. Hearing now a little bit more and more that Nolan Smith and Travon Walker could be coming back. If those two come back for Georgia, that would be huge. I mean, that would be huge on that front seven. Georgia's going to have to take advantage of the portal to get some more secondary help in there. They're losing a lot of guys, maybe even a receiver, running back, that kind of deal. So there will be some holes to fix. But the number 3 overall recruiting class right now under Kirby Smart, they're going to be adding to that here in February with some more targets they're going after. But, what do you guys expect out of Georgia going next year, where they could lose as many as 8-9 guys on that defense if some of them don't elect to come back? I mean, that's could be a big change. And would you guys, what do you think about Stetson Bennett returning or not next year?
I think obviously with those a lot of cats probably leaving. I think it's going to shake up that defense a little bit. But with the caliber of player we get in from a recruiting standpoint, it's kind of a plug and play almost. You got guys coming in that are just freaks of nature. So hopefully, not hopefully. I know they're going to be coached well. I know they're going to be coached to go. I know they're going to have all the nutritional needs that they need to be.
No, they'd be ready.
Yeah, top of the line. So that won't be a problem. I think that the defense will be rocking and rolling. I think for a big emphasis going into this offseason probably needs to be figuring out this quarterback situation moving forward for sure for Georgia.
I mean, TK, you and I are both in agreement that Stetson Bennett's story should be a movie. Now, Knowshon, maybe not convinced
look, man,
quite yet.
If Rudy get a movie, Stet get a movie.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, Rudy played one play. Stetson won the whole thing. Over there, a former walk-on. This man, you know why he's called the Mailman now, Knowshon? You know this story, right?
I do not know the story.
the man was so small and so inconspicuous at these camps and tryouts and stuff that he'd go to. He couldn't get noticed. He wore a literal mailman hat just so he would stand out. And they started saying, "Who's the little curly-headed dude with a mailman hat on?" And then he'd start balling out and playing. So the mailman delivered a national championship for Georgia. Here's my thoughts on it. Stetson Bennett just won Georgia and that had a large part in winning Georgia a national championship. I would have a hard time telling that young man, no, you can't come back. We're going to go in a different direction. That's just me.
I ain't say it'd be easy.
Yeah. Now, but here's the other thing. If you're going to be a dynasty and you're going to try to go on a run like a Nick Saban, there's going to be some nuts cut along the way. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be all roses for everybody. Knowshon, I mean, do you think Georgia would gladly have Stetson Bennett return, or do you think they're looking to maybe move on to one of the younger cats on the roster? What's your opinion on that?
I mean, maybe not necessarily some of the younger cats on the roster. I mean, if the quarterback situation stays as it is, I mean, I know we got some recruits coming in that are going to be eager to compete for that job. But yeah, I mean, and then, who knows what happens in this portal too. I mean, who knows? We might get a Williams or something like that. Surprise, you never know. But for the meantime, I think, you just stay there and just play the course. I mean, like, you already got that natty underneath your belt, so the coaches know that you're able to do it, and you can go out there and make some plays and do what you have to do to get those wins. So I think you just stay and see what happens. And then, I mean, since this portal's open every single day, I mean, you can wake up and just say that you're going to leave. So.
Yeah, Stetson Bennett, he's definitely got a lot of leverage right now. He's got that natty, you got that experience under his belt. He's got Georgia boosters giving him $6,000 bottles of bourbon after the game. The man's drinking straight out of the $6,000 bottle of bourbon. Like, he's not even. And then he goes on Good Morning America, drunk as Cooter Brown over there.
My man might got some swag. I mean, talk about what the mailman had, the Good Morning America. Maybe he does need a movie. I don't know. I gotta think a little more.
He is, but that is, Georgia definitely will be a favorite to repeat. It's them, the Vegas odds. Them and Alabama are tied right now in the early Vegas odds to win the national championship next year. But let's move on to some other teams in the East. One that is intriguing to me is South Carolina, and South Carolina, they went 7-6 in Shane Beamer's first season there. As you can see, if you're watching on 365 Sports YouTube channel, they defeated Florida, they defeated Auburn, and they defeated North Carolina. If you had told South Carolina fans that going into Shane Beamer's first season, I think they all would have said, "Sign me up for that. I'm gonna take that very much." And I mean, that reminds them of kind of the Spurrier years over there, what they were able to do with that. But except old Steve Spurrier had a pretty good quarterback in Connor Shaw. Shane Beamer, TK, he's playing over there with guys from the, transferring from St. Francis and bringing coaches out on the field to play quarterback. I mean, who even knows what's going on?
Yeah, Gamecock Nation, I think it can only get better for you guys. Yeah. You're getting a guy in Spencer Rattler coming in through the portal. As well as
tied in Austin Stogner with him.
Yeah, they got that familiarity with each other.
Yeah, they got that. Yeah, they got that familiarity. You're getting two cats that have played together. And at one point, Spencer Rattler was talked about as a Heisman, candidate. So yeah, he's not no just slap over there. So I think what Shane Beamer did with what he had it was awesome, but I think with what he's getting could be a little bit better. I think it adds to this. Obviously, their recruiting class will add to this as well. Mm-hmm. So bro, I think Gamecock Nation is kind of on the rise.
I mean, Knowshon, when you were at Georgia, obviously South Carolina was a team that was always tough. I mean, they played tough, and Shane Beamer was there. He was in that environment as an assistant under Steve Spurrier. He calls South Carolina home. I mean, he seems like a good cultural fit there. How much momentum can that bring to a program when you bring in a guy who is kind of your guy, right? He's been there at the program before. He knows what it's like, and he's been there when it's been successful.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot, you know what I mean? Especially when the guy's been there, you know what I mean? You can get in there, do what you have to do, ask some questions, and he can get the guys right, you know what I mean? Like you said, everyone is, probably pulling for him out there in South Carolina country, land. But yeah, I mean, I guess Owen can help. And going back to those players that they're getting through the portal, and the recruiting class was I mean, it's not too good right now, but they can get better. But they got
21st overall, a top 20
yeah.
basically recruiting class, and they did pick up some 4-star guys, including Emory Floyd out of Powder Springs, Georgia. So they're when South Carolina is successful, right? When you two saw that when South Carolina was good, they were recruiting the Peach State pretty well.
Yeah. They had them DNs on lock. They were nice, man.
That's the thing with the SEC too. You know what I mean? Any given year, you know what I mean, any of the SEC teams can beat you, you know. And playing in South Carolina, I love that stadium, man. That was my first feeling when I walked in there. It was like, man, this must be what an NFL stadium is like. Like, you know what I mean? Or this is the feel right here. So,
Williams-Brice Stadium is a tough place to play.
Yeah, I loved it, man. So, I mean, we all made some good points about some things. So, yeah, I think they only can go up from here, especially with that quarterback coming in.
Yeah, if Spencer Rattler plays close to what he did, not this past year, but his freshman year over there at Oklahoma, then that could be very good for the Gamecocks. Another team that impressed this year that I think will take us another step forward is Tennessee. Josh Heupel really brought the excitement back to Tennessee football after the whole McDonald's bags of cash, scandal under Jeremy Pruitt and all that kind of stuff. Tennessee seemed to be on a low point, and Philip Fulmer just kind of let that thing run into the ground, even though he's a legendary coach himself. Sometimes a legendary coach doesn't make a great AD, and that seemed to be the case there for Tennessee. But Josh Heupel is bringing an offense that plays at a pace that I don't think any of us have seen. I mean, it's just a lightning fast break type offense, and they had the trigger man there this year that caused some excitement, Hendon Hooker, and he returns.
Yeah, I like the way he looks, man. I like the way he's a physical guy. You know, I mean, like he can throw the ball pretty well. And I mean, he can move and get out that pocket too. I like the way I was seeing from him.
Yeah. Hendon Hooker's a baller. Obviously, Blayne, you know how I feel about Hendon Hooker.
Were you surprised that he came back, TK? I thought he'd be the man for the league.
A little bit, but I mean, just the cat that he is. You saw it in the way he played. He played like a leader. He played like somebody that wanted to do this for the people around him. So him coming back, and wanting to get Tennessee over a hump, I think is big for him. One, but I don't think it's surprising. Just off the body of work that he had this year, I think there's more to it. And then you add to the way that they play, the explosive style they play, the speed they play. If I was a quarterback, I would want to be in the offense like that. My daughter called him.
I thought he was getting I didn't know what was. I thought a clown was about to pop out or something. I'm like, what's going on? This is not good. They do have to replace some stuff out wide. That's why they're bringing in Isaiah Nair. He was a guy who kind of went under recruit to start off with, went out to Wyoming, balled out. Ended up being a guy who was highly coveted once he hit the transfer portal. Tennessee brings him in, and we know that with Tillman and Velus Jones, guys that they utilized this year, Heupel can make the most of things. In fact, Tennessee went into Tuscaloosa and was given the Crimson Tide all they wanted going into the fourth quarter there. So a lot to be excited if you're a Tennessee Vols fan, and that defense really is the one that has to. They were in that shootout there in the Music City Bowl. A lot of people say they got kind of screwed over there at the end with the call there in the Music City Bowl where they said the ball carrier's forward progress was stopped, but he fell into the end zone in overtime there. So
he went down.
Yeah, it was an interesting call for sure, but Tennessee has a lot to be excited about as well. I'm thinking Kentucky takes a step back. I think they lose too much on defense. They'll be back to where they were because Mark Stoops is a good coach. But next year, I think they take a step back, and then
when it Tennessee moves over them.
I think Tennessee and South Carolina can move up, and then Florida. I think that they made a good hire in Billy Napier, but
their recruiting class doesn't look as stout as that. They last in the SEC.
I just think it's going to take them a while to get that roster talent where they need to in order to compete with Georgia. And, Billy Napier, I think a couple years from now, he'll have that rivalry going back again with Georgia. But here we go over to the West. Of course, it all starts with Alabama. They're trying to get back to being the national champions once again, and they are going to return the Heisman Trophy winner and Bryce Young. Another guy who probably should have been in the running for the Heisman, and Will Anderson. And then they add two of the best transfers on the market in Jahmyr Gibbs, who is a state of Georgia guy who went to Dalton High School, was at Georgia Tech. He ends up not Georgia Tech just was depleted, didn't have a whole lot to work with, but Jahmyr Gibbs could be the best running back in the country next year for the University of Alabama. And then, of course, Elias Ricks, a former, 5-star recruit, starter, All-American there at cornerback for LSU. He is now with the Crimson Tide, and Lord knows after what we saw one-on-one out there with Georgia's receivers, they need some help out on the outside.
They keeping Anderson, the other running back? Running back still stay there?
No,
Robinson. Excuse me.
Yeah, Robinson's gone. He was like a 10th year senior this year. So he's out of there.
He ran like it.
Shoot. Yeah, he knew what he was doing.
He ran like a 32-year-old for sure. He's down there. My man's getting downhill.
I'm getting it.
No, man. This team's gonna be good again.
Yeah, of course.
They're gonna be good again. They add Elias Ricks. Obviously, we talked about it just a second ago. Him coming from LSU, he was a baller there.
There was times where people were like, "Is it Derek Stingley or Elias Ricks?"
Right. So coming over to be in a defense like Coach Saban's defense, with a coach like Coach Saban, somebody that's gonna prepare him for that next level. Obviously huge, but what he brings to this team defensively, I think will be very apparent, very, very apparent. And then you get the Heisman back. So I mean, hey man, that alone puts you up there. They lost Billingsley, I saw.
But I think Nick Saban said I think he kicked old Billingsley to the curb. Said, son, you ain't panning out here for you.
Yeah. So but I think that's huge too. But I mean, they got cats coming in. But again, they're gonna be Bama, man.
Yeah, they got like you said, they got people coming in. What are they, second in the SEC for recruiting, and 26 players coming in. So I mean, they're gonna have some players that will come in and fill some spots. And I mean, they're not losing too much on defense, right? I mean, especially having Anderson coming off that edge, man. That's just a big piece to have, big player to have, man. He reminds me of Von Miller coming off that edge, man. So that's gonna be scary again to see it for another year.
Oh yeah, it's Danny Cannell came out today and said that, if Bryce Young and Will Anderson were eligible for the NFL draft, they would be the number 1 and 2 pick this year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how that goes. I mean, and there's a lot of debate going on right now. Should guys have to wait 3 years if they're good enough? Should they be able to go ahead and go pro and all that kind of stuff? So it's but that's a whole conversation for another time that I'm sure we'll get into here in the off season. But as far as the outlook of Alabama, they're going to have plenty coming back. And, people want to say there's a lot of, complaining one way or another. Oh, Alabama's receivers were hurt. They had to play a lot of freshmen, all that kind of stuff. But guess what? They played those freshmen, and now those freshmen have those experiences to draw back on and say, okay, I could have done this and this better. I need to work on this in the offseason. So instead of playing them new day one, you got a Jai Hall. You've got Ja'Cory Brooks. You've got a lot of these guys who are young players that now have that experience and will be able to build a better rapport with Bryce Young going forward. So Alabama, Probably going to be your preseason. I would probably even say they may even be your preseason number one.
Yeah,
going into the season, they're
which is disrespectful a little bit, right? Isn't that disrespectful?
I don't know. When you got the Heisman Trophy,
what's being lost and what's all the intangibles. I mean, to your point, Blayne, like Bryce Young, he gets a whole year. He had one game with all them cats, all them receivers. So now he gets a whole off season. Now he gets a whole, he begins to build a rapport with them cats. So, and they're tight about that. They're tight about they're tight about the way they play.
Let me tell you,
they're gonna come back with some fire for sure.
Yeah,
Bryce Young not only had some receivers drop some balls. I went back and watched the broadcast that ESPN did with the Texas A&M staff watching the game. It's called the Coach's Room. Jimbo Fisher and the Texas A&M staff were commenting on the game while they were watching it. And Jimbo Fisher was highlighting that Bryce Young missed some reads, missed some wide open receivers during that game. So I'm sure a guy like him that wants to be great, and then also a coach like Nick Saban is going to use those kind of things for motivation. And if you thought Bryce Young was good this year and won the Heisman, just wait till next year.
It's gonna be dangerous.
You best believe it's gonna be a whole lot of rat poison.
Man, a whole lot of that. That's
internal rat poison. They're gonna be. Have y'all seen the video where the guy's acting like the coach after the game, breaking down the game film?
Coach 30 is amazing.
What's his name?
Coach 30.
Oh man, let me tell you something.
Davis.
So funny. He's like, Davis, I thought we was starting your mama at nose guard because there was a gaping hole in the middle of our
defense. That's OD.
I mean, there was all kinds of stuff. He's hilarious. But but speaking of Jimbo Fisher and that staff, Texas A&M, that staff, that team, that's kind of the team that everybody's looking at, right? They're saying, okay, what is what are they going to do with this class? There's numbers being thrown around like $30 million of NIL having been committed to this one class over a period of time. They've brought in, they've got the number one class. I think they've got 28 in the class committed, and it's 4 5 stars and 24 stars. Out of that class, so it's deep. Now, one class is not going to necessarily get you over the hump unless you sprinkle in, some transfer portal guys and stuff like that. But arguably, Texas A&M really wasn't that far away. TK, they had some quarterback upheaval there with Haynes King, who they thought was going to be their guy, breaking his ankle, breaking his leg there early on in the season. Zach Calzada comes in, has an out-of-body experience, beats Alabama, plays like Zach Calzada pretty much should play for the rest of the season. And, and then they end up losing 3 games, I believe, on the season. So, but everybody was expecting Texas A&M to kind of be that team this year. I think maybe everybody was one year early in that expectation. What do you guys think about the Aggies going into 2022?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it on the cast all year long. It's time. I mean, it's time, bro. They for the past few years they've been right up there in the top 5 of recruiting, and now they're 1. I mean, it's time. It's time for your recruits to pan out. I think it's time for everything to work out. It's time for you to win some games, not just one big ass game. Win games. So I wouldn't say the clock ticking, but shoot, dude, you got horses. You got a bunch of them now, and not just.
I was going to say both of you guys have been on teams, right, that were highly favored going into a season, right? I would say Knowshon, that team in 2008, there were so many expectations on you guys. TK, the 2012 team, coming into that season, so many expectations on you guys. What is that like when okay, this is our opportunity, like recruiting, the guys returning, all of it has, our skill positions, all of it lines up for us this is our window. This is our time, whether that was in college and then Knowshon, you experienced the same thing in the NFL, when you knew, okay, we got Peyton Manning. This is our time. All this kind of stuff. What is that like when you know that those expectations are there and that a championship is within reach, like this Texas A&M team will know going into the 2022 season?
Yeah, it just brings your focus in even narrower, this time you got the players, you got the coaches that are coaching you, that's giving you the scheme and putting us all in the right positions. So it's more going out and executing, making sure that we're super focused, especially going to let's start with Georgia. Being number one, we wanted to keep that. We felt great, having all the guys back. We had Stafford, we had AJ. We out here like, oh, this is our year. We ranked number one, and Alabama came in and was like, nah, so
not that time yet.
Yeah, that was that. But and the same thing with the Broncos. Having Peyton, having all those skilled guys that we had, having the defense that we had. We just knew it was a special team, and that we wanted to just go out each week and execute and do what we had to do on our end, and knowing that later on down the road, we would have that opportunity to be in the big show. And I love that being with Peyton, man. Giving us he challenged you, man. He challenged your mental game every single day, and I love that. Just having that challenge of not just the physical challenge of being physical with people, but that mental game as well. And I think that's what it is. It's all a mental game at the end of the day, making sure you do the right things to put yourself in position.
TK, if you were going to give those Texas A&M guys some advice, say, because like you guys, you knew going into that year that, hey, that this is our time. This is our time to shine. Aaron had come back. You had come back. Y'all knew, this is go time. What would you say to, Texas A&M that has guys like Connor
Wig?
Connor Wigman's probably going to be their quarterback, but I'm forgetting about the utility guy that they had at running back. He's not only running back, but he's receiver as well. I'm drawing a blank on him right now. Anais Smith.
Oh, yeah, ball.
So you bring Anais Smith back, one of the most electric players in the SEC, and then you have unbelievable recruiting class coming in. TK, what kind of advice would you give to those guys at Texas A&M going into it?
That the time is now. You say look around the room, look what's in the room, and that should give you motivation. It should give you motivation. Looking around the room and seeing a Peyton Manning and a Champ Bailey and a Von Miller and a Chris Harris and a DRC. Looking around that room, everybody in that room wants to work. Everybody in that room comes to work every day wanting to be the best. So
there has to be that leadership element that
yeah, bro. I think that fuels you when you have folks like that. When you have those expectations, I think it fuels you. I think it fuels your hunger. I think it fuels your drive. I think it should fuel you, especially in their sense when they haven't done it, but they're expected to. Hell yeah, bro. I think that should fuel those guys to work, to go seek it.
I think it's going to be so interesting next year to see Texas A&M play Alabama after they beat Alabama this past year. And, so you got two dynamics there. Now that you can beat Alabama, right? You got over that mental hurdle, but Alabama also is wanting to just absolutely slit your throat now that they Nick Saban is going. You talk about rat poison. He's going to be showing his team, them celebrating there in College Station and all that kind of stuff. Over and over again. So that game is one that has to be circled early on. But I think a rise in power like that. And then, of course, you have Brian Kelly and LSU, but I think that's going to, much like Billy Napier of Florida, I think it's going to take a little while. I think they're going to have to build that thing back up a little bit because they lost a lot of talent. But that won't take as long at LSU because if you can keep the guys that are in the state of Louisiana there, you're going to have success, period, right there.
Yeah,
but I think Texas A&M are rising. That Texas A&M and Alabama rivalry could be something huge there in the West.
Yeah, that's gonna be a big one. And to your point, I'm interested to see how Brian Kelly does recruiting down here. it'll be interesting to see. I'm excited to see that aspect of how he does in that realm of things.
Yeah, what are they ranked 8 right now recruiting?
Yeah,
I wonder if he was even able to do any recruiting coming in. I
don't know. I don't feel like he did a lot.
I don't know. He just came down here and used a fake country accent.
He already lacking, bro.
My family.
Hey, my family. He said,
"Yeah, you ain't gotta do all that, bro."
Nah, just be you, man.
He's trying to in there sound like a dude from Gone with the Wind or something over there. I'm like, all right, let's cut that down over there, you know. But you know, it's going to be interesting, and like I said, it never stops here. We are going to be covering SEC football. You know, it doesn't stop. We're going to be covering it. It's just one long season, right? It bleeds into the next one. No games for a little while, but you're going to have transfer portal. We're going to let Knowshon and TK highlight some players, you know, at the positions they played, you know, things like that throughout the season, some playmakers to look at, all of that kind of stuff. And of course, covering all the news and notes that go down. So make sure you're following us on Twitter. It's at SEC2_none. Also, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you know, go ahead and throw us a like on here. That always helps as well. But we're excited about covering all things SEC here as the off season kicks off, and now we're you know, getting into recruiting and all that kind of stuff. So for Knowshon Moreno and Tavarres King, I am Blayne Gilmer, guys, and we will catch you next time on the Second to None podcast that is presented by Bet Online. And at least for right now, it's all about the Georgia Bulldogs at Dogs on Top. They are going to be celebrating on Saturday, and we'll be talking about everything next week. So we'll catch you next time on the Second to None podcast.